Go.
My sentence is for open war, of wiles more unexpert I boast not. Them let those contrive need, or when they need, not now. For while they sit contriving, shall the rest, millions that stand in arms and longing, wait the signal to ascend, sit lingering here, heaven's fugitives, and for their dwelling place, accept this dark, opprobrious den of shame, the prison of his tyranny who reigns by our delay? No! Let us rather choose, armed with hell flames and fury, all at once o'er heaven's high towers, to force resistless way, turning our torches into horrid arms against the torturer, when to meet the noise of his almighty engine he shall hear infernal thunder, and for lightning see black fire and horror shout with equal rage among his angels, and his throne itself mixed with Tartarian sulfur and strange fire, his own invented torments. But perhaps the way seems difficult and steep to scale with upright wing against a higher foe. Let such bethink them, if the sleepy drench of that forgetful lake be numb not still, that in our proper motion we ascend up to our native seat. Descent and fall to us is adverse, but who but felt of late, when the fierce foe hung up on our broken rear, insulting and pursued us through the deep, with what compulsion and laborious flight that we sunk thus low? The ascent is easy then, the event is feared? Should we again provoke our stronger, some worse way his wrath may find to our destruction? If there be in hell fear worse to be destroyed, what can be worse than to dwell here, driven out from bliss, condemned in this abhorred deep to utter woe, where pain of unextinguishable fire must exercise us without hope of end, the vassals of his anger, when the scourge inexorably and the torturing hour calls us to penance? More destroyed than thus, we should be quite abolished and expire. What fear we then? What doubt we to incense his utmost ire, which to the height enraged will either quite consume us and reduce us to nothingness essential? Happier far than miserable to have eternal being, or if our substance be indeed divine and cannot cease to be, we are at worst on this side nothing, and by proof we feel our power sufficient to disturb his heaven, and with perpetual inroads to alarm, though inaccessible, his fatal throne, which if not victory, is yet revenge. He ended frowning.
I should be much for open war, O peers, as not behind in hate. If what was urged made reason to persuade immediate war, did not dissuade me most, and seemed to cast ominous conjecture on the whole success. When he who most excels in arms, in what he counsels, and in what excels, mistrustful, grounds his courage on despair, and utter dissolution as the scope of all his aim after some dire revenge. First, what revenge? The towers of heaven are filled with armed watch that render all access impregnable. Oft on the warden deep encamp their legions, or with obscure wings scout far and wide into the realm of night, scorning surprise. Or could we break our way, by force, and at our heels all hell should rise with blackest insurrection to confound heaven's purest light, yet our great enemy, all incorruptible, would be on his throne, sit unpolluted, and the ethereal mold, incapable of stain, would soon expel his mischief and purge off the baser fire, victorious. Thus repulsed, our final hope is flat despair. We must exasperate the almighty victor to spend all his rage, and that must end us. That must be our cure, to be no more. Sad cure. For who would lose, though full of pain, this intellectual being, those thoughts that wander through eternity, to perish rather, swallowed up and lost in the wide womb of uncreated night, devoid of sense and motion? And who knows, let this be good, whether our angry foe can give it or ever will. How he can is doubtful. That he never will is sure. Will he, so wise, let loose at once his ire, be like through impotence or unaware, to give his enemies their wish and end them in his anger, from him who angers saves to punish endless? Wherefore seize we then? Say they who counsel war. We are decreed, reserved, and destined to eternal woe. Whatever doing, what can we suffer more? What can we suffer worse? Is this then worst? Thus sitting, thus consulting, thus in arms? What, when we fled, amain pursued and strook with heaven-afflicting thunder, and besought the deep to shelter us? This hell then seemed a refuge from those wounds. The hell then seemed, or when we lay chained on the burning lake, that sure was worse. What if the breath that kindled those grim fires awake should blow them into sevenfold rage and plunge us in the flames? Or from above should intermittent vengeance arm again his red hand to plague us? What if all her stores were opened, and this firmament of hell would spout her cataracts of fire, impendent horrors threatening hideous fall one day upon our heads, while we, perhaps, designing or exhorting glorious war, caught in a fiery tempest, shall be hurled, each against his rock, the sport and spray of racking whirlwinds, or forever sunk under yon boiling ocean, wrapped in chains, there to converse with everlasting groans, unrespited, unpitied, unreprieved, ages of hopeless end. This would be worse. War, therefore, opened or concealed alike, my voice dissuades. For what can force or guile with him, or who deceive his mind whose eye views all things at one view? He, from heaven height, all these motions vain sees and derides, not more almighty to resist our might than wise to frustrate all our plots and wiles. Shall we then live thus vile, the race of heaven thus trampled, thus expelled to suffer here chains and these torments? Better these than worse, by my advice, since fate inevitable subdues us, and omnipotent decree the victor's will. To suffer, as to do, our strength is equal, nor the law unjust that so ordains. This was at first resolved, if we were wise, against so great a foe, contending and so doubtful what might fall. I laugh when those who, at the spear are bold and venturous, if that fail them, shrink and fear what yet they know must follow, to endure exile or ignominy, or bonds or pain, the sentence of their conqueror. This is now our doom, which if we can sustain and bear, our supreme foe in time may much merit his anger, and perhaps thus far removed not mind us not offending, satisfied with what is punished, whence these raging fires will slacken if his breath stir not their flames. Our purer essence then will overcome this noxious vapor, or inured not feel, or changed at length, and to be the place conformed, in temper and nature will receive familiar the fierce heat. And void of pain, this horror will grow mild, this darkness light, besides what hope the never-ending flight of future days may bring, what change, what chance of future days, worth waiting since our present lot appears, for happy though but ill, for ill not worst, if we procure not to ourselves more woe.